Today is Friday, December the 8th, 2023, and welcome to episode 73 of Rural Reliance with the Canny Couple. I'm Julia.
And I'm Aaron.
We're a small homestead family in rural Southwest Virginia that work every single day on being more self-sufficient, less reliant on outside sources, merging homesteading and frugality. And today we will talk about something we've talked a little bit about before, but we're going to go a little bit more deeply into it, and that is the necessity of building a side hustle.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with today's world, today's economy, the changing forever landscape of
The economics right now.
Anything, the world.
But building your own side hustle is very important to us because it is one less thing we're dependent on outside. If we have a 9-to-5, we are dependent on that 9-to-5, that company keeping us employed. It's just what it is. So it is one more area of self-sufficiency. And today we want to go over why it's important, the pitfalls, and really make sure you're thinking these things through when you start, while you're thinking, while you have ideas of creativity.
Yeah, and you might hear us even, talk differently about some stuff as we go through this.
We look at side hustles differently.
We do.
We do. Aaron is very optimistic about side hustles. I am not.
And I think a lot of it has to do with, I've built side hustles in the past. I've had a paintball business. I've had photography business, and I still have a photography business on the side. And I filed some stuff for another one or two that I just didn't get around to kicking them off.
I have not. And it's very hard for me. Aaron knows we have to move a certain way for me to be comfortable with it.
Yes.
We have to be very careful. I'm very methodical, and you'll hear about our pitfalls, the things I'm always concerned with when it comes to side hustles and other things. But I also understand the importance, and I'm here to support Aaron in these, and I feel like I do a good job with that.
Mm-hmm.
I've not lost my mind on you yet.
Yet. Keyword.
He's not done something completely and totally crazy, or, well, sort of not done something completely and totally crazy, or move too fast. That's my biggest thing, is moving too fast into it. So we do have very different philosophies, and we kind of look at them and use each other's strengths. Aaron's our idea man. He really is. He is the idea man. He's the one who thinks. I'm more of a, what are we doing right now? How can we do what we're doing right now and use that to help boost our income? I focus on like the homesteading aspect, the growing food, and all of that. That's where I think we can have a better ROI. Aaron's looking way outside of that. way outside of that. He's the one who's like, well, let's start reselling. We can make a lot of money doing this.
Yeah. And a lot of it's because I've used to sell a few things on eBay here and there, reselling. I've sold a lot of my paintball stuff that I had in that business before, afterwards, it's just a lot of experience, I had in that type of realm. And I was always at yard sales and flea markets.
I was too, but I wasn't buying things to flip. I was buying things I wanted on a good price. So we have different philosophies, and we support each other. Aaron understands my limits. I understand his, and we'll go more into that here in a minute. But let's talk about why it's important. So the biggest thing is there is such a lack of job security.
Especially in today's economy.
No one's irreplaceable.
Yes, everybody is replaceable these days, and a lot of times companies are looking at senior people to easily get rid of to replace them with newer ones because more money.
You need less experience. It doesn't matter if they have the same skill set. The skill set's not as valuable because they're looking to reduce costs.
Exactly.
They're looking, so if they're paying $100,000 for somebody who has a lot more skill,
Sure.
and they can hire somebody
Yeah.
off the streets at $40,000.
Yep.
That's a $60,000 boost to their income.
Yep.
That
Yep.
doesn't seem like a lot of business, but it really is.
Right, especially if you do that over 100 people. Think about it that way.
This is big conglomerates. It also happens in small companies as well.
Right, and I saw something the other day in technology field talking about how many people have lost their jobs this year in 2023. It's been the most. It is, quite a few years that it's just a staggering amount, and you hear about a little bit here and there, but you wouldn't think it's as many as it actually is.
The other thing you have to think about is they're creating smarter technology, AI.
Yeah, if you've been reading the news on any of that, I hear it from one side saying, you're going to have more people to support AI. But, you hear other people say, I don't remember which company it was the other day that said he saw reducing his workforce by 40% due to AI. The other day, there was one talking about how AI was going to reduce people's work week down to 3 to 3.5 days a week because AI is going to do the rest of it.
We're not saying this to scare. We're seeing it. You're seeing it every day. I mean, it's just what it is. And it's something to be cautious of and to be aware of. Your job could be replaced because they're looking for ways to utilize technology. That's a one-time cost, except for the upgrades and things like that. But it's a one-time cost. It's probably much cheaper than a person. If it can do multiple jobs, if it could do the job of 5 to 10 people versus the one person. It's just, you're seeing it everywhere. The other thing is, and this kind of goes with AI, self-service.
If you notice, most places are going to self-service like big time anymore, because you can get rid of cashiers, you can get rid of baggers, at grocery stores like that, and you saw a Dollar Tree the other day when you went in that one.
A Dollar Tree had a self-checkout. It freaked me out. I walked in and it said, please place item in the bag. And I'm like, did I go into the right store? And I look, and this is one out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Boonies, like completely out in the middle of nowhere. This would not have been the one I would have thought would have had a self-checkout at this point.
Right. So, I mean, it's a way to reduce employment costs, a way to cut back on your workforce. They want you to, soon I've saw jokes about, that you're going to be unloading the truck to get the product off of it that you want, But in all reality, though, a lot of it is going self-service way. And I've seen, like I think it was McDonald's plans talking about how that they plan in the future of not having, anybody up front, just being more of a, kiosk type of thing.
Our McDonald's has been more of a kiosk. Mm-hmm. The few times that we have went there, there's been nobody up front, and the kiosk has been the one to run it if you walk in to go to the restroom. I will say, a lot of people say, well, you have to have people who manage it, maintain it, and, even like the AI. So something to think about here is they have made the cost of higher education so unattainable and so expensive. A lot of people aren't going to be able to go to colleges to get the degrees, to run these things and manage them.
Unless you're extremely in debt,
Right. And how much is that job going to pay?
Right. Is it worth it?
Is it going to be, because you have to look at the ROI now. Yep. And that's something we weren't taught.
No.
About going to college. They don't teach you return on investment.
Right. And that's something, I wouldn't have went into accounting field. I can tell you that because I don't use it.
Tell them what job you would have done. What you would have went to school for if you could do it all over again.
I'd probably been a game warden.
I thought you said electrician.
Oh, well, electrician too.
Game wardens new for me. That was not what.
Oh, I thought that was what it was. Well,
No, you said electrician.
So I actually took a test like in 8th grade or something, and that was the one that interested me the most. But just because it's out in nature, and stuff like that. But electrician would probably be the one if I was looking from a money perspective. Quick, quick return on investment. That there is the one, from that type of thing. I would have definitely went into.
You can make really good money doing it.
Yep.
You can make really good money doing it. The next thing about a side hustle is an income boost. And this is so important if you're in debt or if you're trying to build wealth, because we are living in a time where building wealth is becoming harder.
Yeah. And is it on purpose? Maybe. It's something you have to think about, that you definitely need to boost that income, to whether it's pay off debt quicker, to take more vacations, live a a more
stress-free lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like whatever lifestyle you want to live. If you're happy at home reading books, hey, you can do that side hustle to help pay for those books, because I don't know about you, but books are getting more expensive. At least if you buy them new. We found a good used bookstore. They weren't too bad. And so, and a lot of people use side hustles right now just to cover their day-to-days.
And,
that's kind of scary.
That's sad. I was reading something the other day talking about this one person. They were working 2 full-time jobs and have 3 side hustles going to make ends meet.
And we're living in an age of side hustles. Side hustles weren't a thing when we were growing up. And we're not, I don't feel like we're old. Well, some days I feel old. It depends on what side of the bed I wake up in the morning. When I look at our age, it feels so different from when we were growing up. Like you had like the kids who mowed the yard, did the sidewalks when it snowed, things like that. But you didn't see this side hustle. And I think part of it is because we've gotten lazy. We don't want to walk our dogs. We don't want to go into the grocery store. We don't want to do these things that we used to do. And the pandemic has led to this. I feel like the pandemic has amped this up.
It has. And I think it's because people were home enough during that time to explore, to research. And they were like, hey, I could do this, on the side and like make, $300-400 a month. It's like, I can use that and go out to the casino or something,
It's just, it's a sense of, and I'm not calling everybody lazy. A lot of people use that for their time. It's just, to me, I can't imagine not paying somebody to change a filter. And I hate grocery pickup. I hate it. I would rather go look for myself. I'm sorry. It bothers me so bad. We did do it. We had very good reasons to do it.
Yeah, when we had
It was much easier for me to order the groceries and have Aaron go pick them up that way. But we had a high cost with that. So we actually had to look at the cost of that, make sure it was still effective. But that was, early on. And it just was more convenient for us. But I hate it. I really do. We learned very early on. It was not for us. I'd much rather... I hate shopping, but I want to go in and get exactly what I want. And if it's not there, I can walk away. And I also want to see my prices.
Yep.
So, that's just for me.
It's sort of like that time. What was it? How many... What was it? A pork loin or something they brought in?
Yes. They brought me... I said, I want one that's like 3 pounds. No. They brought me 3 pork loins. And I looked at them and they were massive. I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't want that many. Or it was 30 pounds. It was something crazy.
Yeah, it was like the grocery bill was like $150 and we were like...
I just happened to look at it and I was like, wait a second. What is wrong with this? That's whenever I determined no. And when we would ask for bananas, they would be green, not green. They'd be yellow and not green. I'll go get my own groceries. The next thing is to be our own boss.
And this is one of the biggest advantages
Set your hours.
side hustle because you get to determine where it goes because you are in charge of everything because you are the boss to make sure that it gets done the way it should get done.
If it succeeds, it's on you. If it fails, it's on you.
Yep.
It is all about you. These are choices you make. And that might be daunting to a lot of people. It really might. But a lot of people who have that entrepreneurship mindset, this is actually something that fuels them, gives them energy, keeps them moving in the right direction. I know it's just something that I think a lot more people are craving, but you don't see, at least in our area, small business is going away. You don't see as much, so I feel like that's one of the reasons why side hustles might be getting this traction because we're used to seeing more small businesses when we were younger. We're used to seeing people building businesses, creating, having that creativity. You don't see as much of that now, so now they're doing it through side hustles and other avenues and trying to get that same feeling of creativity in a different outlet.
And a lot of it, though, is small businesses is, in our area, is they get loans. They get them set up quick. They didn't realize what they were getting into within the year. By the time the money's due back on the loan, the business didn't succeed. They're shutting down. And, I don't know if it's just poor management planning on their part, or if it's because, people do not have the extra income to spend on their ideas. So you got to think about it this way too. During today's economy, your side hustle, it can't just be, what is your great idea. You've got to think about it from what is sustainable as well.
What will people spend money on? And people will spend money on a lot of things. We're not saying like your idea is silly or anything like that.
But you got to look at your area around you too.
If you're doing that and you're not doing it virtual or however you're doing it.
What's your competition? What do you have around you, that can reduce or increase, the results? So, like, I'll talk about the paintball business, for example. Not as much competition in the area that I was in at the time. However, people started moving away from this area. There wasn't as many kids, of the age in high school to
be interested.
In it. Outside sports were not a thing pretty much at that point because kids would want to stay at home and play video games. It wasn't worth it at that point.
Instead of shooting each other with paintball guns, they decided to shoot something on a video game.
Right. Exactly.
It's just something you have to be cautious of and aware of. Increased skill set. And this is something you don't really realize you're going to do as you embark on a side hustle. You might be thinking, okay, I'm going to sell my gardening. I'm going to sell my vegetables, my excess vegetables at the farmer's market. Okay, you have to look at so much. You have to look at how do you set this up? How do you market it? How do you make it look appealing to the people who walk by? Because that is something that's important. How do you make sure your brand stands out amongst all the other brands that are at that farmer's market? So you're looking at marketing. You're looking at figuring out different ways to get your business off the ground, to expose your business to more and more people. You're looking at website development, website building, photography for pictures if you're not going to use stock photos, if you're going to do your own photos. All of these things. And it can seem like, well, I can take a picture. You can, but are you thinking about lighting, about shadows? Are you thinking about capturing that in the best light? Are you thinking about contrast of colors? All of these things matter.
It does. And, at the same time, if you do your own taxes, you're learning how to do taxes. You're learning how to manage your business, to market your business, to...
You're building business plans.
Financially. I mean, you're into business management at that point, and maybe some accounting, some marketing, some finance. You're combining it all together depending on if it's just you, if you're hiring employees, you get even more complicated.
So it's just something to think about. You're constantly going to be growing your skills. You're going to be learning. You're going to learn new things. Not only that, you're going to learn how to make your business more efficient. What can I do to grow more vegetables? What can I do to increase my yields? What can I do to have better, prettier vegetables? Do I need to go organic? You're going to look at the government regulations for that. If
Yep.
you want to go that route, you have all of these things you have to look at. So it's not just one side, and you're constantly developing those skills. So you also have to always be on top of government regulations, what you can sell, where you can, all of this.
And that's another thing there to even talk about, when you're looking into getting into something, have you heard, researching, do you see they're talking about implementing more regulations on it, something, hey, this might not be the best thing to go into right now, something like that.
Just things to be aware of as you're going through this and looking. I will tell you something with marketing that I noticed, and something I always try to implement with us. Watch television commercials. This is sound very weird, but pay attention to what people are wearing, the colors they're using, and the logos of the items they're trying to sell you. You're going to notice the colors are going to match, because they're trying to trick your mind into thinking, oh wait, that's Swiffer mop. That Swiffer mop is yellow and green. That lady is wearing yellow and green. Or this item is purple. The lady is wearing purple. You're going to notice they're going to start tricking your eyes as you go through this, as you watch these things, and you can use those because these people are massive. They're massive. They have millions of dollars they throw at this. So start paying attention, watching, and looking at these things to really pick out ideas you can implement on a small scale to go forward.
Yeah, definitely.
So, anything else to add to the things we have to be, the reasons why we need to start the hustle?
I mean, you've definitely got to, find other ways to back up your income as well, because like we said, you don't know today's economy when you're job mining and when another company might buy you out, and hey, we don't need two marketing teams, I'm getting rid of this marketing team. You've got to look at it from that perspective.
There was a massive merger that just happened.
Yes.
And some people just got laid off.
Yeah. I've read about a couple of these lately where, another company's buying another out. And I even saw, it was talking about over the past couple of years, how many large mergers there have been. And when large mergers happen, you don't need two marketing departments, two sales departments.
You don't need two companies. You're
Yep.
coming to one.
Yep.
Somebody's going.
Yep.
Guess who's going?
Probably the company bought out.
Pitfalls to watch out for. Okay. So I'd say the first one of the big things, especially if you're working a 9 to 5 as well, or regular day job, whatever you're doing, you cannot let your side hustles consume your everyday.
You do need some time to, relax and energize yourself.
Be with family.
Be with family. I've read a lot of people talk about, I go 20 hours a day and sleep 4 hours a night.
That's not sustainable.
You might be able to do it for a little while, but it's going to catch up with you and hit you hard.
You can do that for spurts of time, but that can't be your all day, every day as you're building a side hustle or as you have a side hustle in place. If you're going that hard every day and you're making that much money, you probably need to look at hiring.
Yeah.
You have to make sure the ROI is there. And when we say ROI, we are talking return on investment. That means that the amount of time, effort, and energy you put into it, you're going to get a return for that, and it's going to be worth your cost. Yes. For us, our garden in the past has not given us an ROI for the amount of effort and work we have put into it. The past few years, we are starting to get a much better ROI for our effort and energy. Not where we want to be, but we're getting there. Mm-hmm. Our squash and pumpkins were one of our best crops. We'll be eating on those for a year. Most likely. But it gave us a return for what amount of work we put into it. The goal is to get as much from your investment as you can with as little work as possible for the turnover.
Right. I mean, you don't want, you know, side hustle that's gonna, you know, take 8 hours a day and give you, like, you know, a paycheck what you would do in an hour somewhere else. You know, that's not gonna be a good return on investment.
So I think like the crochet animals and things like that people sell out. We see this a lot if we go to different fairs and
Yeah.
marketing things. And they're beautiful. They do a great job. But
Those take
how
a long
long
time.
how long do they take? How much are you going to be able to sell it for? How much inventory are you going to be holding? Can you get rid of all the inventory that you've worked so hard for? Those are things you have to consider. Now, if you are a super fast crocheter, go for it. If you're slow like me right now, it's not the time I'm going to jump into that. It's just not. I've got to gain better skills and learn how to do this better before I ever think I could sell at a rate that's going to sustain a side hustle.
Yeah.
So just look at that return on investment. This is a little weird, but you want to make sure that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
What if, you know, let's say you're doing reselling and eBay's fees jump up 40%? You know, hey, it ain't worth it now, you know, or on that platform, which cuts back your profit on other ones. You need to look at multiple side hustles to have multiple incomes coming in case government regulations, in case, you know, new taxes get implemented on certain things that could make it not worth your while. But at the same time, you could make that switch from one to another, you know, seamlessly, and make it your main stream of income, for example.
And another way to think of this is don't just think of it as cash coming in. If, like for us, we have reselling, but we also do a lot of homesteading. So the homesteading, we're never going to rely on it for like an income. We hope to eventually get to the point where we can sell some of our crops, but it's never going to be at a point where it's like this can sustain us. And I know that's the dream of most homesteaders, but we also know we live in an area where there's a lot of that happens. There's
Right.
a lot of competition. So we have ideas, dreams that maybe we could sell some of the stuff that we have as additional money coming in, but not to sustain us 100%.
To sustain us from a food perspective, though.
But it will sustain us from a food perspective. So we're doing this work and it's going to pay us back in food.
Yep.
Food we will eat, we will preserve, we will have for the winter, we will have for years as canning or freeze dried. This is another way to look at it. You don't have to just look at it as, well, it's got to be cash, because that's what we think about. But for us right now, the homestead is kind of a side hustle. It's kind of something we're doing to help push us towards our goals even faster. And we're trying to do it in a way that's cost effective and is going to make sure we get there even better.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, just like that, you know, you don't want all your eggs in a basket in cash too. You know, food is another
For bartering.
you know, for great thing for barter, because people always want food. And, you know, that's one thing you need to look at too, like from your side hustle perspective. You know, hey, you know, like food is one where people will always be interested in food.
And this is an area where we are learning to diversify. We've not just learned with our garden, but also with the plants that we're growing, what grow best for us, and really focusing on those kinds of areas. So we're diversifying even our homestead to produce more of our everyday needs to help pay us back. The next thing is, do not go into debt.
It is not worth it to start up a business going all in and going into debt.
Put cash aside, build it.
Build it, you know, get a little bit here, get a little bit there. Hey, paintball business. My neighbor had it before. I, you know, had me and my friend went into it. We had some cash on hand. He took it. Other couple paintball businesses went out here and there. We bought their stuff up when we had the cash. And that's how we built it up, because, we never went into debt over, getting supplies.
And even our resale business, how we started it up was Aaron looked at what we currently had that he knew would sell fast.
Yep.
And that became our startup money.
The video games, Nintendo video games from when I was a kid. That's what started
That's really
us.
what started
That's
it.
what started us on our reselling journey. And, I've still got lots of other toys that when we are able to sit down with some of those that, those are going to be some others that, keeps boosting that business.
So these are just things to think about. So what can you sell? What can you move around? If you're going into photography and you need to upgrade your camera or get a better lens, do a job to use that cash to get yourself your better lens. Do not go into debt for a side hustle, because you're defeating the whole purpose of the side hustle. Because going into debt, you think, well, I'll go into debt, I'll make this money, and I'll be able to pay it back. But you're already starting off with your foot backwards.
Yeah.
You're not moving forward, you're moving backwards.
Yeah. And hey, if it's just flipping stuff you can find for free out on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, just to bring in some cash to start off whatever business you're doing, it's definitely worth it to do that, just putting some little effort into bringing in some extra cash to start up your side hustle.
Well, maybe people have things at home they can get rid of. They really do. We still have things we could purge.
Yeah.
I'm still purging, and I'm sure I could still purge another half of the stuff we have.
Right.
And it's just something that we will constantly keep doing, and we purge to resell. It is what it is. The next thing is, and this is part of going into debt, and this is the thing that scares me the most, is don't build too quickly. So if you're going into something where you are shipping or doing anything like that, you do not need 1,000 boxes if you only have 10 orders. I understand the cost of the 1,000 boxes is much cheaper than the cost of the 20 boxes or the 100 boxes. But you have to store these things. Plus, you have your inventory you have to store. You want to build at a rate that's sustainable. So you want to build fast enough that you feel progress. And you also want to make sure you're keeping enough stuff so you have the progress, you have the forward momentum, but you're not drowning or suffocating in stuff.
But at the same time, this is where we'll differ. You do need to look at what you're going into to see when is the right time to start it. Hey, if there's a drastic need for a new restaurant in town, another one closed out, there's a building open there, sometimes you have to look at the opportunities that's around you at the same time.
See, he's thinking you need that job right now. I'm thinking if you only have your emergency fund, you do not use that on the side hustle. He would, but he knows that is off limits. That is not to be touched.
I would.
In a heartbeat, he would, and I will.
I'm too entrepreneurial focused.
No, I would. No, that's not happening. It's just one of the things you have to kind of. For me, you have to balance. It's all a balancing act. We learned very quickly what we were going to need as we started the reselling business, what we needed to focus on. One of the first areas, one of the biggest struggles with reselling is learning how to ship. It is. Learning the shipping. Oh my God, it's such a nightmare.
After you figure out shipping, it's a cinch.
It really is.
Yeah.
And figuring out where we were best suited. I'm really good at getting the product ready for pictures, getting it packed. Aaron's really good at doing the research on the costs, getting the pictures taken, posted, and dealing with all of that. So we've kind of found our niches in our side hustle, but we've also learned what we need, what we don't need as we've been doing it.
Right. And I will say our biggest need right off we got it sort of early on, was the thermal printer.
Yeah.
That there is such a time saver. It makes it so much easier, just slapping the label on compared to cutting off tape and trying to tape it on like I used to do all the time.
It does help. It does make it much faster. But it's just one of those things you have to learn as you go through these, like what you need and as you grow. You don't want to grow so fast that you cannot keep up with your orders, especially if you don't have time to vet and hire somebody.
Then you'll end up in Shark Tank.
You just want to make sure you're doing it in a way that is sustainable for you and your business, because you can grow super, super fast and get super, super big. And that's great for a lot of people, but I would say like most side hustles, you're not going to do it that way. And that's the hope and dream.
Yeah, I mean...
but live in a world of reality.
Yeah, I mean, you might get lucky and something goes viral and you become, sensation with whatever product you have that, everybody wants. And then you're like, hey, I just got an order of 100,000 of these, but I can only make 10 a day,
If that would be the dream.
It would be.
That would be the dream. But you got to get there. So I'm slow and steady wins the race. That is, I'm the tortoise. He's the hare. Do you disagree with that?
Not from a business side point. I do not disagree with that.
But you know my limits, right?
I do.
Emergency fund is not to be touched. He's got a look on his face like, I could talk her out of this. He cannot.
No, I know there's no talking out of that.
Any final thoughts?
Like we said, today's society, the way the economy's going, the way the world is going, we definitely need to think about how do we create a second stream of income in case our
third, fourth,
in case that mainstream ends today. Anything can happen. You need to prepare yourself and your family to make that switch in an instant without losing step. And whether that...
until you can find another 9 to 5, if you can find another 9 to 5.
Or if you're able to scale that side hustle up into a full-time business itself, How about you?
I just think it's very important to just understand the importance of a side hustle, and the skills you learn, because everybody, I feel like it's overlooked how much you're going to learn. Like, I had no idea how to do shipping, how to determine what box I need to use, what's cheaper, and all of this, and I had to learn on my feet. Yeah. And because we were getting so frustrated with how shipping was
to begin with. Yeah,
it was such a nightmare, but we did the research, we learned, we looked, and once we figured that out, it really did help. So the skills you learn become invaluable. They really do. And you could translate those skills in so many ways. So your side hustle doesn't work. Okay, what skills did you learn? What did you learn?
Hey,
put that on your resume.
Social media, marketing, sales, depends what you got into, You
could do so much that boosts your resume, that boosts your skill set. You now have different ways to get another job out there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so underestimated and undervalued.
Yeah.
We talk about learning a lot. We really do. Because we feel like it's underutilized. I mean, it's really not talked about, not heard about as much. And people don't realize how many skills they currently have. What they know, what they can do. And, like, we just had that discussion the other day about you. Because Aaron's like, well, I don't know what else I can do. And it's like, what skill set do you have?
Yeah, that's always a good question, because you think about it as, I just do this. I just
every
do that.
day. Like, this is my day to day. But you don't look at it like, what are you actually doing?
Right.
If you're entering data and you're managing data, you're doing data management, you're managing a system, you're managing all of these things, and it's much more than what you feel like it is every single day.
Yeah. Okay, well, if you've got any comments, any questions, leave those down below, or send them to thecannycouple@yahoo.com. Make sure to go over and check out our link tree, which has all of our other content. And, check out some of other videos here on YouTube at the moment. We've got all kind coming up, around holiday candy, holiday finger foods, and cheap gifts from Dollar Tree even.
And as always, thank you for joining us on Rural Reliance with the Canny Couple, where we work hard, live simple, and enjoy life. Have a wonderful day.